The galaxy was on the edge of war, and everyone knew it. The message had spread across every star system, every world, and every race. The war was coming. It had been talked about for years, whispered about in the darkest corners of space. The planets had been preparing, their fleets growing, weapons being tested, and armies training for the inevitable. The time had come for the galaxy to clash, and the first battles were expected to erupt any day now. But there was one planet in the middle of it all that didn't believe a single word of it: Earth. To the other species, Earth was just another small, insignificant world, far out in the farthest reaches of space. They had no real resources, no great technology, and no powerful armies. But to everyone's surprise, Earth didn't react to the warnings like the rest of the galaxy. While fleets and armies were getting ready, humans on Earth were calm. Almost too calm. They saw the ships in orbit, the strange alien signals, and the stories from the galactic news stations, but they didn't take it seriously. To the humans, this whole war sounded like nothing more than an elaborate hoax. A rumor. A joke. They had been through tough times before. Their history was filled with wars and struggles. What was one more war going to change? They didn't believe it would come to Earth, and they definitely didn't believe they would be part of it. People laughed it off. Humans had always been skeptical of the galactic powers, even though they had been part of the larger galactic community for some time. Earth was a quiet, peaceful planet, and the idea of a massive galactic war seemed too far-fetched. Sure, the other species seemed to believe it, but humans weren't the type to get swept up in hysteria. A few humans in positions of power, like government officials and military leaders, tried to make sense of the situation. There were meetings. There were strategies drawn up. But in private, most of the leaders believed the war wasn't real. They didn't think the galaxy's most powerful species would waste their time fighting over Earth, a world that was still in the early stages of space exploration. Earth wasn't important enough to be a target. The whole thing seemed ridiculous. The aliens, however, were not so sure. They had been receiving their own warnings from the Galactic Council. The message was clear: Earth was a wild card. The Council believed that humanity could pose a threat. They had been watching Earth for a long time. The humans had developed some technology that, while still primitive compared to other species, was unpredictable. What if Earth scientists came up with something that changed everything? What if they discovered a weapon that could rival the most advanced fleets in the galaxy? The Council didn't want to take that chance, so they prepared for war. At first, the humans dismissed the Council's threats as nothing more than the ramblings of overzealous alien leaders. They had no intention of involving themselves in the drama unfolding between the other species. After all, Earth had never been a part of galactic politics in the same way the other species had. Humans were not aggressive by nature. They were curious, peaceful, and eager to explore. They had no interest in war, but things began to change. One day, without warning, alien ships appeared over Earth. Thousands of them. Huge vessels that cast shadows over entire cities. The sky was filled with warships, their engines glowing with power, their weapons primed for battle. The news stations went wild. People across the globe watched in disbelief. Some feared the worst, while others still didn't understand why the ships were there. Why Earth? Why now? And yet, even as the ships hovered above them, humans remained calm. Some stared at the sky in awe, unsure of what to think. Others joked about the strange visitors, still not believing that war had truly come to their doorstep. Some even thought the alien ships were a part of some elaborate Earth-based science fiction project. How could this be real? It didn't make sense. The human governments tried to communicate with the alien ships, sending messages, asking for answers. But the response was not what they expected. The Galactic Council issued a statement, saying that the war was real. Earth had been included in the galactic conflict, whether the humans liked it or not. The Council warned that Earth would be attacked if it did not comply with their demands for immediate disarmament and submission. The message was clear: Earth had no choice but to surrender. But to the humans, this only made things more confusing. Why? What had Earth done? Why was the entire galaxy now against them? They were just a peaceful planet in the farthest reaches of space, still learning about the stars. They had never been a threat to anyone. Why would the rest of the galaxy suddenly decide they were the enemy? The Council's words echoed across the planet, but most humans still didn't believe them. Sure, they could see the alien ships in the sky, but there was no real sense of danger. No war had started. No bombs had dropped. There was still time to figure things out. The humans thought this was a misunderstanding that could be easily fixed with a few talks and some diplomacy. They weren't the ones who were going to make the first move in a war. They refused to believe it was happening. But the rest of the galaxy wasn't waiting. The ships above Earth began to move. The countdown to destruction had begun. And still, the humans laughed it off. They couldn't believe that they, humble, small, insignificant Earth, could be part of this galactic conflict. They had bigger things to worry about. It was impossible. It was all a trick. But as the seconds ticked by, they would soon learn that the war was very real. And Earth was right at the center of it. The galaxy's most powerful species had one goal: to eliminate humanity before they became a real threat. And now, humanity would be forced to make a decision: fight or fall. The alien ships didn't fire. Not yet. They just floated in the sky like dark clouds, blocking out the sun. Their shadows stretched across cities, forests, and oceans. All around the world, people looked up, waiting, wondering. Was this a threat? A warning? Or something else? Even now, most humans didn't panic. Some were scared, yes. Some packed their bags and tried to leave the cities. But many still believed this was a trick. They thought the aliens would leave soon, that this was just a show of power. Others joked about it online, making memes and silly videos. Another alien prank, they laughed. Just a galactic misunderstanding. The war didn't feel real. But in secret places, deep under mountains, and inside command bunkers, a few human leaders were starting to worry. They had seen the Council's message. They had read the threat, and they knew what it meant. Earth was in trouble. Big trouble. But they didn't understand why. What had Earth done? General Mara Trent sat in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, her eyes fixed on the screen. The alien ships weren't moving, but they were scanning everything: cities, bases, communication lines, even the planet's energy levels. It was like they were waiting, watching, measuring Earth's strength. Beside her, Dr. Eli Voss, a scientist from the Interstellar Research Division, spoke quietly. "They think we're hiding something," he said. "Some kind of secret technology. But we're not. We don't even have weapons that could fight those ships." Mara nodded. "Then why are they here? Why target us?" Eli looked down. "Because we scare them." The words hung in the air like smoke. It didn't make sense. Earth had no superweapons, no powerful fleet. Just a few small defense satellites, some old warships, and basic energy shields. Nothing compared to what the Council races had. But somehow, that was what scared them most. The aliens didn't understand humanity. Over the years, Earth had quietly advanced. Not in size or power, but in something harder to see. In thinking. In strange technology. In ideas that no other race could predict. Humans were not the strongest, but they were unpredictable, creative, and fast. When other species took centuries to test new ideas, humans built new things in months, sometimes weeks. That kind of speed made the Council nervous. And then, there was the Ghost Project. Years ago, a strange file had been leaked. A file that showed a possible new kind of energy, dark energy. Something Earth scientists didn't fully understand but had started to explore. The Council believed humans were hiding a weapon. Something that could change everything. Maybe not now, but soon. That was why the alien ships were here, to stop humanity before it was too late. And still, Earth had no idea. In a small town in New Zealand, a boy named Owen sat on the roof of his house, looking up at the ships. He was only 16, but even he knew this wasn't normal. His dog barked at the sky. Confused by the shapes above, Owen's parents stayed inside, watching the news, trying to stay calm. But Owen kept thinking, what if the war is real? What if this is the beginning of something huge? In other parts of the world, some humans began to prepare. Small defense groups powered up their systems. Engineers checked old war drones. Scientists looked over blueprints that had been forgotten. Just in case, they didn't trust the aliens. They didn't trust the silence. Meanwhile, in orbit above the Earth, Commander Vectel of the Threxian Armada waited inside his massive warship. His face was cold, his voice sharp. "The humans do not believe we will attack," he told his officers. "They think we are bluffing. That is a mistake." "But Commander," one officer asked, "what if they truly have no weapon? What if this is all a misunderstanding?" Vectel shook his head. "Then it will be the last one they make. We do not wait for a threat to grow. We strike now, or we risk everything." The Galactic Council had not given a full order to attack, yet, but Vectel had authority to act if he saw danger, and to him, the humans were danger in disguise. Still, something made him pause. He had expected panic. He had expected Earth to launch missiles or beg for peace, but instead, the planet stayed calm. Too calm. No missiles, no shields, no mass evacuations, just silence. What were the humans planning? He didn't know that Earth had no real plan. No secret weapon. No super army waiting underground. All Earth had was confusion and hope. Hope that maybe the aliens would change their mind. Hope that maybe war could still be avoided. But deep in the ocean, below the waves, something ancient woke up. A hidden station, long abandoned, came online. Lights flickered. Machines hummed. A system that hadn't activated in years started to glow. Someone, or something, had triggered it. Back in the command center, General Mera's screen flashed red. "Unregistered energy signal," said the AI. "Location, Pacific Ocean. Source, unknown. Power level, rising." "What is it?" she asked. "I don't know," Eli whispered. "It's not one of ours." For the first time, General Mera felt a chill. If it wasn't human, then what was it? Above Earth, the alien ships began to move. The water boiled. In the middle of the deep Pacific Ocean, where there was nothing but open sea, something rose from the depths. It started as a small signal. Then the water shook. Seagulls flew away. Fish scattered. And then, without warning, a giant metal shape pushed up through the surface. It looked like a ship, but not like any Earth ship. It had no flags, no name, no country. Its skin was black and silver, smooth like glass, but strong like mountain stone. It didn't float. It hovered. A strange blue light glowed underneath it, holding it above the water. In Earth's defense center, alarms screamed. On every satellite, on every radar, the same signal showed up. An object, larger than any human submarine or drone, now hovering over the ocean. General Mera stood up. "What is that?" she asked. Dr. Eli Voss stared at the screen. "That's not human tech," he said slowly, "but it came from Earth." "Then who built it?" she asked. He didn't answer. Across the skies, the alien fleets noticed the same thing. Commander Vectel leaned forward in his chair as his crew reported the strange signal. "New threat detected," one officer said. "Origin, Earth. Technology, unknown." Vectel narrowed his eyes. So, they were hiding something after all. But it wasn't a weapon. Not yet. The ship didn't fire. It didn't send a message. It just sat above the ocean, glowing. On Earth, news reporters showed the image everywhere. People watched from their phones, their TVs, their rooftops. The joke was over. The war wasn't fake anymore. Something real had begun. Inside the strange hovering ship, lights flickered to life. Old systems woke up. A voice spoke, but not in any human or alien language. It was something older, forgotten. But then, like magic, the voice changed. It spoke English. System online. Core memory active, awaiting instructions. No one had told it to start. No human was inside. No code had been sent. And yet it woke up now, when the alien ships arrived. In a quiet lab far away, a woman named Dr. Anya Klein watched the signal on her computer. She had studied forgotten Earth tech for years. She thought it was all junk, pieces of failed projects from the old Earth governments. But the signal coming from the ocean matched something she had seen once, a pattern in a lost file, a code older than the internet. Something called Project Whisper. It was a file nobody understood. It had been locked for decades. No one could open it. But now, the same pattern was coming from that ship. She picked up the phone. Get me the defense command. Right now. Back in the alien warship, Vectel gave the order. Move 2 scout cruisers. Get closer. Analyze that ship. If it charges a weapon, destroy it. 2 alien cruisers broke formation and moved toward the Pacific Ocean. Their weapons glowed ready. But as they approached the unknown ship, something strange happened. The sky went quiet. The clouds stopped moving. The ocean stilled. Time felt slow. Then a low hum filled the air. The metal ship changed color, silver to dark blue. Symbols appeared on its hull. Not human letters. Not alien ones either. These were unknown to both. The scouts sent data back to Vectel. This design is not from Earth, one officer said. It matches no known species. Vectel stood. Then where did it come from? Nobody had the answer. On Earth, General Mara watched in silence. Is this thing on our side? She asked. Eli shook his head. I don't think it's on anyone's side. It's not part of any army. It's not a weapon we built. It's something else. The hovering ship turned slowly, pointing itself toward the sky. It sent out a sound. Not a message, but a feeling. Around the world, people heard it, not with their ears, but in their minds, a low, calm voice. You have made a mistake. Everyone stopped. The voice spoke again. This is not your war. It was never meant to be. Then silence. In space, the alien ships paused. Their commanders were confused, afraid. Commander Vectel clenched his fist. What is it saying? One officer whispered, it's warning us. Vectel didn't like warnings. Charge weapons. Fire on the unknown object. Let's see how strong this ghost really is. But before the cruisers could fire, the ocean ship vanished. It didn't fly. It didn't explode. It just blinked out. Gone. Back on Earth, chaos followed. News channels crashed. People screamed. Some prayed. Some packed. Some just stood in shock. Dr. Anya Klein stared at her computer screen. It's still here, she whispered. The signal's still active, but it's hiding. Mara heard her through the emergency line. Then find it. Whatever that thing is, we need answers. Fast. That night, the alien fleets stayed in orbit. No attack came. No peace message either. Just silence. And on Earth, hidden below, the ship waited. Not asleep. Not broken. Waiting for something. For someone. Deep under the ocean, the hidden ship stayed silent. No lights, no signals, but it was not gone. It was watching, listening, and thinking. Above, humans and aliens both waited. No one moved. The skies were full of warships, but none fired. Everyone was afraid to make the first mistake. Earth's leaders were quiet now. The alien commanders were confused. The thing from the ocean had shaken them. They didn't say it out loud, but they all felt it. This war was not normal. In a dark lab on the edge of Iceland, Dr. Anya Klein kept working. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Her eyes were red. Her hands shook, but she didn't stop typing. She had finally opened part of the Project Whisper file. It didn't say much, just a few strange words. She read them out loud, slowly, unsure of what they meant. Created for peace, trained for silence. Awaken only if the stars lie. She frowned. What did that mean? At the same time, in orbit above Earth, Commander Vektal sat in his cold command chair. His claw tapped the armrest. He felt pressure from the other Council species. Crush them, they said. Show them power. But he hesitated. That strange ship, it wasn't normal. And the voice. That voice had not just been a signal. It had reached into his mind. It knew what he feared. And somehow he knew this war had started with a lie. Far away on Earth, a small boy named Jonah was playing with his old radio. His grandpa had given it to him. A strange box with dials. It didn't even need the internet. It picked up sounds from the sky. Radio waves. Usually, he just heard music or weather updates. But that day, he heard something strange. A slow, deep voice. It didn't say words. It just hummed. A soft, low tone, like someone singing from far away. Jonah turned the dial, trying to make it clearer. And then, just for a second, he heard words. Message missed. File broken. Memory fading. Then static. Jonah ran to his mother, but she didn't listen. She thought it was just noise. A glitch. But Jonah knew better. Something had spoken. And it had sounded sad. Back in the lab, Anya ran the signal again. She finally matched it to something from the past. Not alien, not machine. Human, but not modern. This pattern came from before the digital age. It had been hidden in old weather satellites, deep-sea probes, even musical records. She realized something. Wait, it wasn't hiding. She said to herself. It was trying to talk. The signal had been there for years, maybe decades, but it was slow, broken, split into pieces across the planet. Nobody had ever put it together, until now. She leaned over her screen. A new line appeared in the file. The computer spoke. You were not supposed to forget. She stared at the words. Her heart raced. She picked up the phone again. General Murrah, she said, that ship, it's not just a machine. It remembers. And it's hurt. Hurt? Mara asked. Yes, it thinks we forgot something important, something we promised. In orbit, the aliens prepared a message to Earth. Vektal wrote carefully. This is your final chance, the message said. Explain what that ship was, or we will destroy your planet. Earth's leaders read the message in silence. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender. But none of them understood the strange ship either. Then Anya's voice came through the line. You have to stall them. That ship was made by us. Long ago, but we forgot it. And now it wants answers. Mara asked, how do we speak to it? Anya thought hard. We don't. Not with words. We have to listen. In the skies, the alien ships moved closer. Below the ocean, the ship stirred. It rose again, slow and smooth, glowing brighter this time. All around the planet, machines froze. Satellites shut down. Radios went quiet. But the ship didn't attack. Instead, it played a memory. Not on screens, not on speakers, in people's minds. Images appeared, old pictures, from Earth's past. A time before nations fought, before Earth became divided. A world where humans worked together to build something amazing. A ship, the same one. It had been their protector, their guide. A voice of peace, built in secret by every nation on Earth. Not to fight, but to watch, to learn, to protect life. But then came fear, greed, war. The project was hidden, then erased. The memory lost. The ship forgotten. But it remembered everything. You forgot peace, the ship said. Now, Earth's leaders wept, not because they were scared, but because the ship was right. Even the aliens felt it. They saw the images too, a whole world full of people who once dreamed of something better, and then ruined it. Commander Vectel stood still. They did not start this war, he whispered. We did. Back on Earth, Anya sent a message, not to the ship, not to the aliens, but to everyone. It's time we remembered, she said. The war was never real. The lies were. Let's stop this, before the truth destroys us all. The ship no longer hid beneath the ocean. It hovered in the sky, silent and glowing like a ghost. All over the world, people stopped what they were doing to look up. Some pointed. Some cried. Some fell to their knees. They didn't know what it was, but deep inside, they felt it meant something big. The world had changed. In orbit, alien warships floated quietly. Their commanders had stopped speaking. Even Commander Vectel stayed silent. He watched the images that played in his mind again and again. Humans building the ship, smiling, dreaming of peace, then slowly turning cold, afraid, divided. Why would they erase something so beautiful? His second officer whispered. Vectel didn't answer. He didn't know. On Earth, Dr. Anya Klein sat in the cold lab, eyes wide. The strange file, Project Whisper, kept updating by itself. It was like the ship was writing through her computer. Every few minutes, a new message appeared. Awakening protocol. Incomplete. She didn't know what that meant. She typed quickly. What is the awakening protocol? For a moment, nothing happened. Then the reply appeared slowly, like someone thinking carefully before speaking. Protocol equals human memory plus global unity plus permission to unlock. She stared at the screen. It needs us to remember, to come together, to say yes. She called General Mura. We need to act fast. The ship is waiting for permission. But from us, it was never meant to take control on its own. It was built to guide us, but only if we accept it. Mara frowned. How do we give permission? Anya hesitated. We show it we're ready, that we're not the same anymore. Meanwhile, all across Earth, strange things began to happen. In every country, old machines powered on by themselves. Old computer systems from before the internet age came alive. Screens lit up in museums, schools, bunkers. All showed the same thing. A single white circle slowly spinning. People gathered around, confused. The circle grew brighter, and words appeared. Do you remember? It played old videos, human history, the good and the bad, images of war, of peace, of people helping each other, of betrayal, of hope. Then the voice came back, not in sound, but in feeling. You were made for more than this, it said gently. Children cried. Elders whispered prayers. Leaders stood in silence. In the sky, the glowing ship released soft pulses of light. They spread across the world like waves. Gentle, calm, not harmful. But every alien warship in orbit felt it. Their systems glitched. Shields dropped. Weapons powered down. Panic spread in the alien fleet. One captain screamed, "They are attacking us." But Commander Vectel stood up and shouted, "No, they are not. This is not an attack. It is truth." He opened a channel to all ships. The humans did not begin this war. We forced them. With lies. With fear. Some alien commanders protested, but most listened. Something about that ship, about the images, it reached into their minds in a way nothing else ever had. Back in her lab, Anya stood in front of a microphone. She wasn't a soldier, not a leader, but now the world listened. People of Earth, she said, her voice shaking, we are being given a second chance. That ship was built by our ancestors, not to fight, but to protect us from ourselves. She paused. We forgot, but now we can remember. The signal was shared across the world, on phones, radios, even through old TV antennas. Then she spoke the words no one expected. "I vote yes." In cities and villages, people followed. They shouted from rooftops. They clicked buttons on screens. Some simply whispered, "Yes, yes, yes." The white circle on the machines grew brighter, and on the screen in front of Anya, a final line appeared. Awakening protocol. Accepted. The sky shook, but not with thunder. The ship above Earth split open, not like a weapon, but like a flower blooming in space. Inside, a soft white core glowed. It released no weapon, just light. The light touched the Earth. It passed through walls, water, even mountains. It was harmless, but it changed everything. In people's minds, old memories returned, not just their own, but the lost ones. Memories of the old world, of when nations worked together, of the first space stations, built not for war, but for hope, of children from different lands playing under one flag, of the day the ship was finished and Earth had stood still in awe. And then, the silence, the fear, the war that was never real. Tears flowed across the planet. The humans remembered. So did the aliens. Commander Vectel bowed his head. This is what they truly are," he whispered. "Not monsters, not warriors, but dreamers who forgot their dream." And now, they had remembered. The ship above Earth slowly changed shape again. It formed a single long beam of light that pointed into deep space. A path. Not a weapon, not a warning. An invitation. The stars were waiting, but only if humanity chose to follow. Not silent, but calm in a strange way. After the awakening protocol, the whole world seemed to breathe slowly, like it had been holding its breath for a long time. People didn't scream. They didn't cheer. They just stood still, watching the sky, the glowing ship, the soft path of light pointing to the stars. The war was not real. The fear was. Now everyone knew the truth. The war had been made up, used by others, aliens and humans alike, to control, to divide. And yet the biggest truth was even harder to face. Humanity had helped create the lie. In a small town in Brazil, a little girl stood beside her grandfather, looking up. "Is it over?" she asked. The old man nodded slowly. "The fake war? Yes. But the real journey, it just started." Across the oceans, in a bunker once filled with weapons, leaders from different nations sat at a round table. There were no guards, no flags, no shouting. Just tired men and women looking at each other with the same question in their eyes. What now? General Mara sat with them. She no longer wore medals. Only a simple jacket. "We have two choices," she said. "We follow the path, or we fall back into fear." Anya Klein sat beside her. She looked pale, like she hadn't slept in days, but her eyes were clear. "The ship isn't forcing us. It's waiting. It showed us what we lost and what we can be." A leader from Asia, once known for his hard words, leaned forward. "How do we make sure we don't forget again?" That was the real question. Meanwhile, in orbit, the alien fleet had not left. The warships stayed still, silent, like statues in space. Inside his command ship, Commander Vectel watched the Earth. His crew no longer looked at humans with fear. Instead, they looked with something else: regret. Vectel opened a private channel to his High Council. "I will not lie to you," he said. "We believed the humans were dangerous. But now I know we were wrong." The council buzzed with confusion. "Are you saying we end the invasion?" "There was no invasion," Vectel replied calmly, "because there was never a true enemy." He paused. "We watched them awaken. We saw their memories return. They built that ship to help them remember peace. Not for war, not for conquest. And yet, when we saw the ship, we feared it would destroy us." An elder voice from the council spoke. "What do you propose?" Vectel looked out at Earth, glowing under the ship's light. We offer help, not as rulers, as friends. Back on Earth, a strange message began to appear. It wasn't from the ship. It was from the alien fleet. We misunderstood you. We offer peace. We offer knowledge. We ask to learn from your mistakes and your courage. People didn't know how to react. For centuries, the idea of aliens coming to Earth had been tied to fear. Now the aliens were asking to be taught by humans. Dr. Anya was one of the first to reply. Come down. See our world. Let us build trust together. One small alien shuttle landed in the African desert, another in the Arctic Circle, one more in the ruins of an old war zone, now empty and quiet. No weapons, no soldiers, just open hands. The people were cautious, but curious. Some brought food, others brought music, and slowly fear gave way to something else, understanding. In the desert, a human child showed an alien how to draw shapes in the sand. In the Arctic, an alien learned to build a snowman. In the old war zone, they planted seeds. Small things, but powerful. High above, the ship watched. Then, without sound or warning, it began to break apart. Slowly, gently, like a puzzle coming undone. Pieces floated downward, not crashing, but landing softly all over Earth, in forests, in fields, in cities. Each piece contained knowledge: how to grow food in harsh places, how to heal wounds faster, how to clean water, how to build without hurting the Earth. But the final piece was the most special. It contained a single message. We are not your gods. We are your memory. Use us well. Do not forget again. It was signed not by a name, but by an idea. Project Whisper. In a live broadcast watched by billions, General Mera spoke to the world. For years, we trained for war. We built walls. We studied how to win battles. But now we have something harder to learn: how to live in peace, not just with aliens, but with each other. She looked into the camera. No government can force it. No army can protect it. Peace begins with choice, and I choose it. More leaders followed. Cities lit candles in the streets. Bells rang in places once filled with sirens. People held hands, cried, laughed, and for the first time in generations, the world felt still. The war was never real. But now, peace was. It wasn't perfect. There was still anger, still questions. But for the first time in a long time, there was also hope. And high above, the path of light remained, waiting, not pushing, just shining. A reminder that the stars were still there, and now, humanity was finally ready to reach for them again. The world had changed forever, but it had not forgotten. It was a new morning on Earth. People woke up not to the sound of alarms or sirens, but to the soft hum of possibility. The stars, once distant and cold, now seemed closer than ever. A whisper of light still hung in the sky, the path that the ship had created, leading into the vastness of space. Humanity had been given a second chance. The past was still there, fragile, broken, but not forgotten. The awakening protocol had done more than just end a war that never existed. It had opened their eyes to something far more important: peace. And now, they had to build it. Not with weapons, not with treaties, but with the simple act of choosing. In the United Nations building, leaders from every corner of the Earth gathered. It wasn't a meeting of politicians or generals. It was a gathering of people, ordinary humans, who had learned from their mistakes and were now standing together with a common purpose. Do you remember the first time we sent people into space? Asked Dr. Anya Klein, her voice steady. Do you remember how we all felt, standing together, watching them leave our world for the first time? We believed it was the beginning of something beautiful. She paused, her gaze sweeping over the room. The ship above us, the one that sent the light, it wasn't meant to guide us into war. It was meant to guide us back to our humanity, to remember who we are, not just as individuals or nations, but as a species. We were the dreamers once, and now we have to dream again. The room was silent, a heavy silence, full of questions, fears, and hope. One leader stood up, his face tired but resolute. "I never believed we could live in peace. I thought the wars would go on forever, that we would always be at each other's throats. But now I see something different. I see a future where we all share the stars." General Mara, who had once led armies and made decisions that affected millions, now spoke with the calm of someone who had found something even greater than victory. Peace isn't easy. It's not something that can be handed to us. It's something we choose. Each and every one of us has to make that choice every day. There will be no easy answers. There will be mistakes. But we will build something together, something stronger than the divisions that once ruled us. She glanced up at the screen that showed the path of light still shining in the sky. That ship, those aliens, the ones who showed us the truth, they didn't come to destroy us. They came because they knew what we have forgotten. They knew that we had the power to change, and they gave us a chance to remember who we are. For the first time in years, the leaders of Earth weren't fighting for control. They weren't making promises based on power or fear. They were making a promise to each other, a promise to the world they would protect. Outside, the streets of the cities were alive with the sound of people coming together. In every corner of the world, people were talking, sharing, helping one another. No one was fighting. No one was building walls. The message had been clear. We are stronger together. In space, the alien fleet, once so ominous, had become a symbol of something different. Not an enemy, but a partner. Commander Vectel had been the first to admit their mistake, and now the other alien commanders followed his lead. They had no weapons drawn, no ships in attack position. Instead, they offered something far more valuable: knowledge. They offered to teach humanity how to live in the stars, how to grow, build, and protect, together. The first human ship launched not to fight, but to explore. It wasn't a warship or a weapon. It was a vessel of discovery. And for the first time in history, it didn't fly alone. Alongside it, an alien ship traveled, side by side, showing that the path to the stars was one they would walk together. As the first humans and aliens touched down on Mars, they planted a flag. Not a flag of one nation, but a flag of Earth. It was simple, just a circle of stars surrounding a single Earth, a reminder that the journey they were taking wasn't just about one group. It was about all of them. Back on Earth, people watched. They stood in awe as the first steps were taken not just on a new planet, but into a new age. The war that had never existed seemed so far away now, like a shadow in the past. Anya and Mara stood on the balcony of the United Nations building, looking out at the stars. "Do you think they'll ever forget us?" Anya asked softly. Mara smiled. "They've already forgiven us." Anya nodded. "We have to remember too. We have to remember who we are, not just who we were." The ship in the sky, the one that had shown humanity its past mistakes, now offered something even more precious: a future. And humanity wasn't going to let it slip away again. The journey had only just begun. But now, they were ready to walk into the stars, not as conquerors or warriors, but as dreamers, ready to share their story, their truth, and their hope with the universe. And as the first human and alien ships sailed into the stars, the sky wasn't a battlefield. It was a place of endless possibility.